Here's the hard truth no one told me when I was 20. You're not broke because you're lazy. You're broke because you're stacking the wrong kind of leverage. At 21, I was working 50 hours a week between Starbucks and DoorDash. My rent was late. My car broke down twice that winter. I was exhausted, but I believed I was doing everything right. I saved 15% of my paycheck. I watched finance YouTubers. I even opened a Roth IRA. But despite all that, I was still broke. Still stuck. Still scared. And then I saw a LinkedIn post that hit me like a slap. You're not paid based on how hard you work. You're paid based on how replaceable you are. That night, I closed my laptop, stared at the ceiling, and realized I was 100% replaceable. And that's when everything changed. The truth they don't teach in school. There are 4 types of leverage that determine how far and fast you can go in life. But most people, especially in their 20s, only chase the last one. Here's the real wealth ladder. 1. Knowledge leverage, intellectual capital. 2. Connection leverage, social capital. 3. People leverage, human capital. 4. Money leverage, financial capital. If you skip straight to chasing money, you'll trap yourself in low-paying jobs, freelancing burnout, or business ideas that never scale. But when you build these forms of capital in order, life gets easier, not harder. Step 1. Build intellectual capital relentlessly. This is your toolkit, your mind, your skills, your unique edge. When you build intellectual capital, you become valuable. Not just employable, valuable. That's a different game. For me, it started with a $17 book, The Psychology of Money. It taught me that wealth isn't just numbers, it's behavior. I started treating YouTube like college, podcasts like lectures. I spent $100 on a freelancing course that led to my first $3,000 client. I wasn't special. I was just finally learning the right game. My friend Jamie never went to college. She learned video editing from free YouTube tutorials. Now she charges $500 per project and turns down clients weekly. That's leverage. Why this lesson matters. If you don't make yourself valuable, you'll always be underpaid. If you do make yourself valuable, people will start chasing you. Clients, employers, partners, investors. You stop begging for opportunities and start filtering them. But here's the part they don't tell you. Every day you delay building real leverage is another day you stay replaceable. And in this economy, being replaceable is dangerous. In Lesson 2, I'll show you exactly how I used knowledge to build powerful connections, even without rich parents or fancy degrees. Let's move. After I built some real skills, something unexpected happened. People started noticing. Not a ton. Not all at once. But the right ones did. And it changed everything. Here's what I didn't understand before. Your network isn't just who you know. It's who knows what you can do. When you become useful, helpful, valuable, people remember you. And when opportunities show up, they think of you first. That's called social capital. And in your 20s, it's more valuable than money. You don't need a Harvard network, you just need to show up. When I had no connections, I started with what I had. Free time, a laptop, and a growing skill set. So I began giving away value. I wrote helpful LinkedIn posts. I messaged people and offered free help with their websites. I shared what I was learning on Instagram and YouTube. No followers, no fancy setup. I just documented the journey. People started sharing my stuff, referring me, reaching out. Before I knew it, I had designers, developers, and founders in my inbox asking, "Hey, do you do freelance?" Not because I was the best, but because I was visible. Because I gave value first. Social capital pays in opportunities, not likes. Your social capital is your reputation at scale. It opens doors money can't. Introductions, deals, invitations. And here's the cheat code. Help people publicly, for free, with no agenda. Do it consistently. Watch the world open up. In Lesson 3, I'll show you how I leveraged that attention to attract talent, and build real human capital that made everything scalable. Ready for it? Let's go. After I started building social capital, something wild happened. People started asking if they could work with me. Not just clients, but collaborators, designers, editors, marketers, talented people who wanted to be part of what I was building. And that's when I learned my next big lesson. You don't scale by working harder. You scale by working through others. This is where human capital comes in. What is human capital? Human capital is the talent you attract, the people who help you build, grow, and amplify your vision. It's how you escape the trap of doing everything yourself. When you're in your early 20s, you probably don't have money to hire a team. That's okay. If you've built intellectual capital, you know something useful. And social capital, people trust and respect you. You'll find others who want to join the journey, even without big paychecks. For me, it started with a friend who helped edit my videos. Then another friend who offered to help manage my calendar. Eventually, I had a small crew, not employees, just believers. We built stuff together. We learned together. We made money together. Why it matters? You can hustle your way to your first $10,000. But to make $100,000, $500,000, $1 million plus, you need leverage through people. You can be the best in the world, but if you're doing everything alone, you'll always be limited. The earlier you learn to build with others, the faster you escape the time for money trap. In Lesson 4, I'll show you how I finally turned all this leverage, skills, network, team, into actual money, real financial capital, and how I did it way faster than I ever thought possible. Let's keep going. Let's be honest, this is the one you care about most. You want the money, the freedom, the never have to check your bank account again life. Same here. But here's the trap that took me years to escape. When you chase money first, it runs from you. When you chase value first, money finds you. Let me explain. How I made my first $10,000, then my first $100,000. Once I had skills, intellectual capital, a network, social capital, and a small team, human capital. The money came fast. I didn't start with a business plan. I started with value. I posted content that helped people. I offered services they needed. I made it easy to say yes. My first real breakthrough, $1,200 from a YouTube viewer who DM'd me. Do you do coaching? I didn't. But I said yes. That $1,200 turned into $10,000 in 3 months. That $10,000 turned into $100,000 in less than a year. Not because I chased cash, but because I stacked leverage the right way. Financial capital is fuel, not the destination. The money matters, but it's not freedom if it owns your time, your health, or your soul. Real wealth is when your capital works harder than you do. When your systems, content, team, or investments earn while you sleep. If you're still trading every hour for dollars, you're not building wealth, you're surviving. Your 20s are the best time to break that cycle, because you have time, energy, and nothing to lose. In Lesson 5, I'll share what happened when I finally got everything I thought I wanted, and why it didn't feel the way I expected. The real lesson: money is easy, meaning is harder. Let's go there next. I hit every goal I had before 30. 6 figures, then 7. Moved into a modern apartment. Drove a car with red leather seats. Flew business class. Bought the watches, the clothes, the lifestyle. And I'll be honest, for a minute, it felt amazing. But that feeling didn't last. In fact, it vanished way faster than I expected. Here's the part no one tells you. Once you get everything you want, you'll be forced to ask, is this it? And if you're not ready for that question, it'll wreck you. I thought freedom was the finish line. It was just the starting point. I remember hitting $500,000 in my business. I sat alone in my living room. My phone buzzed with Stripe notifications. I smiled. Then I stared at the wall. It felt empty. Not because I was ungrateful, but because I had built an entire life around achievement, not alignment. I got the money, but I didn't know who I was without the chase. Get the lesson now, before you waste years. Don't get me wrong. Getting rich is better than staying broke. But the real win is learning what actually fulfills you, before you waste 10 years chasing things that don't. The faster you get what you think you want, the faster you learn what actually matters. For me, it wasn't the Porsche. It was peace, flexibility, time with people I love, creating without pressure, living without pretending. That clarity only came after I got everything. In Lesson 6, I'll show you how I started rebuilding my life around alignment, not ambition, and why your dream life might actually be much simpler than you think. Let's go deeper. After hitting every milestone I thought mattered, I had a breakdown I didn't see coming. Not the dramatic, crying on the floor kind. Worse, the numb kind. I wasn't sad. I wasn't stressed. I just didn't care anymore. And that scared me, because for so long, I believed ambition equals meaning. If I wasn't chasing the next level, the next client, the next number, then who was I? That's when I learned the most important emotional lesson of my 20s. You can be successful and still feel completely misaligned. The life that looks good is not equal to the life that feels good. I had the online brand, the income, the lifestyle content, but every day started to feel like a performance. Like I was building a business for the version of me from 5 years ago. I realized I was living a story I no longer believed in. So I stopped. I shut down offers that drained me. I turned down clients that didn't excite me. I started creating just to create, not to convert. And guess what? The less I chased numbers, the more I felt free. The more aligned I became, the more magnetic life felt. Your values will shift. Let them. The things you want at 22 might feel meaningless at 27. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're growing. The faster you accept that, the less guilt you'll carry. And the sooner you'll build a life that actually fits the person you're becoming, not the one you used to be. In Lesson 7, I'll show you the most dangerous lie ambitious people believe, and why chasing purpose isn't always the move either. We're just getting started. Once I stopped chasing money, I started chasing meaning. I wanted my work to feel aligned. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted everything I did to matter. Sounds noble, right? It was. Until it became a trap. When you pressure every move to be your purpose, you paralyze yourself. Suddenly, I was overthinking every project. Is this meaningful enough? Is this aligned with my life's mission? Will this make a real difference? That mindset didn't give me clarity. It gave me anxiety. Purpose is a byproduct, not a prerequisite. Nobody finds their purpose on a whiteboard. You stumble into it by doing things, not by overthinking them. When I started creating videos, I didn't have a mission. I just liked teaching. I liked writing. I liked connecting with real people online. I didn't know it would become my business. I didn't know it would change lives. I just followed what felt energizing. Now I look back, and that became the most meaningful path of all. Let go of the pressure to get it right. If you're in your 20s, stop trying to build your forever thing. Just start moving. Try stuff. Build momentum. Follow curiosity. Momentum creates clarity. Clarity creates purpose. Not the other way around. You don't need to find the perfect idea. You just need to start. And keep going. In Lesson 8, I'll break down the one mindset shift that helped me unlock exponential growth. Not by doing more, but by going deeper. Let's flip the game. In my early 20s, I was proud of being a multi-hyphenate. I dabbled in copywriting, tried video editing, learned a little design, built a few tiny websites, started 3 different side hustles. It felt productive, versatile, impressive. But the truth, I was busy being average at everything and world-class at nothing. And no one pays for average anymore. Going wide feels safe. Going deep builds wealth. Going wide is like planting 10 different seeds and watering them all halfway. Going deep is planting one and growing a forest. When I finally chose one lane, writing and storytelling, everything changed. I stopped splitting my attention. I stopped chasing shiny objects, and I started getting better, faster. Clients could feel the difference. My audience grew faster. My rates 5x'd in under a year. Not because I was more talented, but because I finally focused. Your competitive advantage is hidden in depth. Anyone can dabble, but few people commit. And in a world full of generalists, depth is rare, and rare is valuable. The fastest way to stand out isn't by doing more. It's by doing one thing exceptionally well. Pick your lane. Study it. Master it. Build a name so undeniable that people say, "Yeah, that's the person for this." In Lesson 9, I'll share how to deal with the uncomfortable middle ground, that lost feeling when you haven't found your lane yet, and how to use it to your advantage. Let's normalize being uncertain and turn it into fuel. There was a moment in my mid-20s when I woke up and thought, I don't know who I am anymore. I had outgrown my job. My business didn't excite me. My goals felt blurry, and nothing I used to care about lit me up. At first, I thought I was broken, like I was falling behind, like something was wrong with me. But I've learned this. Feeling lost doesn't mean you're off track. It means you're in between identities. You've shed the old version of yourself, but the new one hasn't fully arrived. The in-between feels awful, but it's sacred. It's uncomfortable, quiet, unclear. But this in-between space, it's where the real growth happens. This is where you reflect, reevaluate, start asking better questions. What do I actually want? What do I need less of? What version of me am I becoming? These aren't easy questions, but they're essential. Don't rush to escape the fog. In our culture, we rush to fix everything. If you feel lost, there must be a 10-step plan to fix it, right? But being lost isn't a problem. It's part of the process. The people who reinvent themselves best are the ones who let the fog do its work. They stop forcing clarity. They stay open. They stay curious. And then, almost always, the next step reveals itself. In Lesson 10, I'll share the one area I ignored for far too long, and how not understanding it nearly cost me my freedom. Politics and your personal rights. This one's not sexy, but it's necessary. For most of my 20s, I avoided politics. I thought it was toxic. I didn't vote in local elections. I didn't understand how taxes worked. I figured as long as I made good money and minded my business, I'd be fine. Spoiler, I wasn't. What you don't understand can still take everything from you. And that's exactly what happened. The day it hit me, I had a great year in business, until tax season came. Out of nowhere, I owed 5 figures I wasn't prepared for. And worse, I had no idea where it was going. I didn't know how to challenge it. I didn't even know who to call. That's when I realized. Being financially successful in America without understanding the system is like driving a Ferrari with no idea how brakes work. Politics isn't just the news. It's your life. It's whether your healthcare is protected. Whether your taxes are invested or wasted. Whether your business is encouraged or choked. And unless you're reading, voting, paying attention, you're playing blind. You don't need to be an activist, but you do need to be aware. Because power loves ignorance and punishes it. Here's the wake-up call. Freedom isn't just about money. It's about understanding the rules of the game. If you don't know your rights, you won't know when they're taken. And by the time it affects you, it's often too late. In Lesson 11, I'll talk about a shift that almost no one warns you about. When your values change, but your lifestyle doesn't, and the disconnection quietly eats you alive. This one hits deep. Around 27, I started feeling out of sync with my own life. Everything on the outside looked great. The money, the trips, the brand, the recognition. But on the inside, I was drained, disconnected, anxious, for no obvious reason. It took me a while to realize what was happening. My values had changed, but my life hadn't. Old dreams were running my new self. In my early 20s, I craved status. I wanted proof, to myself and others, that I made it. So I built a life around hustle, luxury, visibility. But by my late 20s, what I valued had shifted. I wanted quiet, time, depth, integrity, space to think. The problem? I was still living a life that fed my former self. And that mismatch, it's poison. Slow, subtle, soul-crushing. Misalignment creates misery, even if you're successful. I kept pushing through, doing launches I didn't care about, posting content that no longer felt real, saying yes to money I didn't need, because I thought I should. And the longer you perform a role you've outgrown, the more you begin to disappear inside your own life. Here's the shift that saved me. I hit pause. I asked hard questions. I let go of offers that made money but drained me, and I gave myself permission to evolve, in public. Was it scary? Absolutely. But that discomfort gave me my life back. In Lesson 12, I'll share one of my biggest regrets from that season. How I let ambition blind me to my relationships, and why keeping your people close is part of the real definition of success. Let's talk about friendship, ego, and growing without leaving others behind. When I first got into self-development, I was obsessed with growth. Books, podcasts, courses, webinars. I was waking up early, cold showering, goal setting, you name it. And I started looking around at my friends thinking, they're not doing any of this. Am I leaving them behind? Worse, I started feeling like I should. Because every post, every guru, every YouTube video told me, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I slowly began disconnecting, saying no to hangouts, dodging texts, convincing myself if they really wanted to grow, they'd be doing what I'm doing. Then one day, I looked up, and I was alone. Sure, I had more followers, more income, but fewer real conversations. Fewer people who knew me, not just my brand. And I realized something brutal. Growth without connection isn't power, it's isolation. You don't have to cut people off just because they're not on your exact timeline. You don't have to become better than anyone. You can lead by being, not judging. Real leaders bring people with them. Some friends won't want to change, and that's okay. But some, they're just waiting for an invitation, a spark, a hand, a real conversation. Your greatest legacy might not be what you build. It might be who you helped build along the way. A few months before I turned 30, my grandmother passed away. She lived overseas. I had just visited her weeks before. I thought I'd see her again. I really did. But I didn't. And here's what hit me the hardest. I never asked her the questions I always meant to. I knew nothing about how she met my grandfather, what her childhood was like, what sacrifices she made for our family, what she wished she could have done differently. All that wisdom, all that legacy, gone. Just like that. Don't wait to get curious. In our 20s, we're often so focused on building our future that we forget to understand our past. But the stories your parents, grandparents, and mentors carry, they're not just history. They're mirrors. They explain who you are, why you think the way you do, why certain fears or patterns live in you, and how to rewrite them. Regret is a loud teacher. We think we have time until we don't. So call your mom. Ask your dad how he handled his first heartbreak. Sit down with your grandparents and just listen. Not because you have to, but because one day you'll wish you had. You made it to the end. Now what? These 13 lessons weren't just my story. They're an invitation for you to write yours, on your own terms. Not to live faster. Not to be perfect. But to live deliberately, before life chooses for you. Be bold. Be curious. And start now. Because the clock's ticking, and your story matters. Thank you for being here. I hope these words helped. Now go do something fearless. You've got time, but not forever.